Reddit. My wife and I have found out recently that we are infertile. How do we politely stop people from asking us when we are going to have kids? My husband and I, for medical reasons, chose not to have children. We eventually just started telling people that children are not in our immediate future, and if that changes they would hear about it. If they keep pushing, you can either elaborate or tell them it is private. I am in a similar situation with my girlfriend. It is getting to the point where we are considering marriage, but my own health issues and other genetic issues in my family pretty much make it too risky for me to have children. I honestly could not bring someone into the world knowing they did end up with what they are at risk for. How do I tell this to my girlfriend? I did never marry her without telling her, but I feel the need to be candid as soon as possible. It is also not like I have been hiding it. It only really occurred to me when I have begun thinking about marriage and the ramifications of having children. Any advice? For us it was easy. We both have cancer, mental illness, autoimmune diseases, and Down syndrome in our families. I was very upfront from the beginning that I do not want children and that I probably should not be a mother. He felt the same way. You have to be honest with her and tell her you feel you cannot pass on a bag of faulty DNA. If she can accept that and sees other alternatives, great. If not, it better to know now than to put years and tears into a relationship that will inevitably end over the issue. Just tell them that you are unable to have kids. It will make them uncomfortable and they will shut the duck up. My wife and I heard that for years. We however just found out that she is pregnant after doing in vitro. It is tough. I am sorry you have to deal with infertility. Most people are going to think that this is a little harsh and over the top, but in all honesty, it is not. Do not worry about offending other people, just say it gently. Mention that it is a sensitive topic, and please do not ask any further questions. I know it sounds like you are giving TMI, but this accomplishes two things. One, they do not ever ask again. Two, they make sure that no one else asks again. If this feels too forward or whatever, just think of it as protecting your wife. My ex and I went through 5 years of infertility hell and 5 in vitro attempts. 2 were successful. We used to say we practice all the time, and that made them laugh and not notice when we changed the subject. If the asker still did not get a clue and persisted in asking, we had let them know we were diagnosed with a serious fertility issue and that we were exploring options or actively pursuing them. It always made them uncomfortable. But what are you going to do? Of course, that always led to them telling me about their aunt's cousin's sister's friend who just relaxed and miraculously got pregnant. I could have relaxed stark naked in a wading pool full of my husband's ejaculate and we still would not have gotten pregnant without a team of microbiologists and a lot of luck. I believe that is a personal matter between my wife and me. Arching an eyebrow may add to the effect. Seriously, channel your inner Spock on this one. My wife is infertile. We honestly just say that we cannot have kids and they just shut up usually. What we did, since we didn't want to try the in vitro route but still wanted kids, is that we are doing foster care. We got 2 little girls ages 2 and 3. We get paid for the kids, so that helps financially. The girls oddly enough look like us. They are gaining our mannerisms already. It looks like their mom is going to get TPR'd in a month, termination of parental rights, and we will be able to adopt them. The state will pay for us to adopt them and we will get a monthly stipend until they are 18. Maybe you should look into the foster programs. Some agencies allow you to meet the children before you take them into your home, allowing you to know their history and know what you are getting into. You may not be able to have kids, but there are a lot of kids that are not able to have parents that give a shit. If you or anyone else wants info on the foster care program or system, let me know. I will answer any question you have. Back to the question though, just be upfront. People cannot have kids. It's a way of life. If you feel comfortable enough, just say we cannot have them and move on. There is no shame in it. 99% of the time, people do not push the subject at all. My wife has cancer and chemo has taken away the ability for her to carry a child. I used to be tactful when responding to people like this. Now, I just say yeah, we cannot have kids because my wife has cancer. That usually shuts them up, and hopefully teaches them a lesson to not make assumptions or ask insensitive questions. What stops me from murdering people on a daily basis? No matter the cause, is Hanlon's razor never attribute to malice that which is adequately explained by stupidity? Yes, but it still is a close call. My greatest sorrow in life is being infertile, and reminding me of that hurts like hell. It is like asking parents who lost their child if they miss their child. Occasionally I cry myself to sleep over the kid I never had. I am really sorry. I cannot say I understand what you are going through, but I do understand the ache and pain of not knowing, which is what I am going through now. If I can have children, let us share. Use your best overdramatic Shakespearean voice and say, when the sun rises in the west and sets in the east, when the seas go dry and mountains blow in the wind like leaves, and glower at them. If they do not get the reference, say that you plan on adopting dragons. It is just one of those things that if you are a married couple of a certain age, everyone is going to ask about kids. You just have to politely tell them that for you it is unfortunately not an option. Are you kidding me? In this economy, college prices are skyrocketing, the planet is overpopulated already, the world is just going to end in another 3 months anyway. I do not want my kids to grow up in a world where I have to explain to them why polar bears are just in books. I am the sole carrier of a horrible, imperceptible genetic disorder, and I am sacrificing fatherhood for the good of all mankind. You had kids, and that really turned me off to the whole idea. I mean, look at you now. I want better for myself and my wife. I hate sharing. How am I supposed to teach a kid that? There are all kinds of amazing excuses not to have kids. Just start crying every time they ask. My wife and I used to do that. She had hold herself and make sniffling noises, and I did look them in the eye, and say, thanks for asking. My soul is a festering pit, so when I deadpan, it is extra creepy. Of course it was all fun and games until it turned out we actually had fertility issues. It took about 3 years to have the first one, then baby 2 required 4 more years and something on the level of $30,000 worth of medical intervention. And once you have one, then the people who would otherwise have enough brains to steer clear of what could be a sensitive issue will start giving you advice on your spacing and shit like that. I have 2 close sets of friends who recently gave up and started looking into adoption. One of them has 2 sisters who have 3 and 5 kids respectively, and it is her guy who has the fertility issues, so that is a total mind duck, and the other couple has roughly the same issues my wife and I had. I gave them a lot of positive encouragement and advice, and now I cannot help feeling like an asshole that it did not work out. Sorry man, I wish it had turned out better for you. Edit. I guess this comes off as a harsh response, but I view that question as extremely personal, and my usual response to people asking overly personal questions is to make them regret the decision deeply. In spite of our best efforts, it appears nature has a different plan. Asking people about when they are going to have kids should really be widely acknowledged as socially unacceptable, like asking if a large woman is pregnant. It is a personal matter, and stress can make conceiving even more difficult. Every time you ask someone about it, you are making it even harder for them. Situational exceptions for very close family and friends. The issue here is that for a lot of people, it is not an unacceptable question. Following marriage, having children is still considered status quo and probably always will be. It is almost never meant rudely. In fact, for some people it is just thought of as a polite follow-up question when discussing marriage and the future. And it is something a lot of couples have already discussed and come up with some kind of idea about when they would like to have kids. So for many it is not offensive. People who do not want to have children or who are not able to will likely always be the minority. So when grandma asks when she can expect great-grandbabies, it may just completely not register with her that there could be a completely negative reaction to her question. To an extent, you can choose whether or not to be offended by a question not intended to cause offense. As someone who does not want to have kids, the question probably would not offend me when I get married and inevitably get asked. However, following up with busybody questions about why I do not want kids, or telling me how I can always adopt, or that I will absolutely change my mind soon, that is annoying and rude. The whole thing is very subjective, but there are enough differing viewpoints that you cannot necessarily label it as unacceptable just because that is the way you feel about it. That is a fair point. but it is an unnecessary question. It is not at all uncommon for there to be difficulties when trying to start a family. Somewhere between 15 and 20% of couples of a childbearing age are infertile, and it takes over a year of trying to have a kid before you can even be classified as infertile. So even fertile couples may deal with stress and fear before conceiving a child. If people are excited about having a baby, that is something they are going to share. If they want to have a kid, and are able to have a kid, you will find out about it when she is pregnant. There is no need to ask, because they will volunteer it. What answer are people looking for? Yep, I am filling her up to the brim with my seed. It is only a matter of time now. Basically, you have got a 1/5 chance of offending someone, and close to a 0% chance of finding out what you want to know unless you would have found out about it anyway. My record with noticing pregnancy is better than 80%, but I am still not going to risk asking about it. I am with you in that it really is not their business, but this is one of those folksy things that people say when they think they are being friendly familiar with you. Honestly, if you tell them that you have recently discovered you are infertile, they will probably feel like shit for asking, as they should, but that is personal info that you may not wish to share. Perhaps just say that you are not sure and change the subject. If they lack the social awareness to realize that you do not want to talk about it based on your vague answer combined with a subject change, feel free to be rude. The unfortunate paradox here is that most people who ask "so when will you two be having kids" are genuinely just being nice and friendly. But, for those who cannot have kids, it has got to be horrible to be frequently reminded that you would not ever have your own children. Are you spending Thanksgiving with your parents? Nope, they died in a car crash 3 years ago. Thanks for the reminder. There are many well-meaning questions that can hurt feelings if asked to the wrong person, but that does not make them evil or insensitive questions, in my opinion. Someone very close to me is dealing with this. They tell people that they will have kids when they are done traveling, and that there is quite a bit more of the world they want to see. Then they offer to show vacation pictures. Shuts people up. I am sorry you are dealing with this. Actually, this is pretty much the answer for the OP. Most of these people that ask these questions are too frail to travel and enjoy their vacations, so when you go talking about your motorcycle trip across the country or your trip to the Alps or climbing some huge mountain, they shut up fairly quickly. Thanks. They go on a ton of cruises. The people that question their childlessness are people that do not travel out of a 25-mile radius, usually because they have kids, dogs, a house to deal with. When the people close to me start talking about the amazing places they go, you can see the others turn green with envy. Shuts them up pretty quick. Just tell them the truth. They will be mortified that they had the nerve to ask such a personal question. If not, then just ignore them and walk away. I am sorry, are you under the impression that complete strangers are asking the OP? It is probably family and friends that they have known for years. It is not a rude question. I will never understand people who get offended over people who have the absolute best of intentions. Get a thicker skin and stop causing drama where there does not need to be any. I personally have had people let me know that my life is completely meaningless and that my husband and I, as a couple, are useless and should not have bothered to get married because there really was no reason unless we were having kids. This was from complete strangers who would not accept my answer as to why I have not had kids. I have been called selfish, disconnected, and immature. I am not creating drama when I tell people the truth. My husband and I did not want kids and decided not to have them. I am not the one with thin skin. I would not question why someone has kids or not, and I would not validate my decision to not have kids by asking a question that is far too personal and touchy for most people. I personally would assume that their decision to have or not have kids was their own decision, and it was really none of my business, be it family or not. Frankly, I think you are the one who is getting a bit touchy about it.